Hi, I'm Samantha. This is my podcast with no name. I'll figure that out later. Clearly, I cared way more about getting people's stories out there than I cared about properly developing this podcast. So it has no name at this point. I'll figure it out hopefully by the time I post it. Um, this is my friend Sephiran. He's currently laughing at me because this podcast has no name. But what was important to me about this podcast was that I gave people who have had real life experiences a voice and a platform. And so clearly, my want and desire to make that happen outweighed my ability to properly formulate this podcast. But this is my friend Sephiran again. We met at a wellness retreat back in November, and immediately we hit it off, and I thought he was super interesting. And then we additionally have the same birthday, so it felt very like meant to be, right place, right time sort of thing. And as I was talking to Sephiran about his life and the things he's been through, he was telling me about his experience with the criminal justice system. And that's something that obviously I'm very interested in, is just people's experiences going through the criminal justice system and the things that the state isn't taking accountability for, right? Like, I feel like in a lot of ways through your experience, you were wronged and not taken care of. And I feel like that happens way more often than the average person is aware. And so I'm just trying to give people a platform to just kind of talk about that experience and what you've been through, and just just share what that was like and how difficult that was for you. And I know we've talked about it a little bit. I have kind of an idea, but I also know that you haven't told me everything. So I'm just excited to hear about it. And then additionally, I have requested the police reports for his case. And so I am also able to read those at some point if that seems, if it feels right. So,
Cool.
yeah, if you want to.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, my experience was a super intense, traumatic event in my life that has taken me a good 5 years to process and be able to get to a place to really be able to speak with it in a free way. And I've learned to integrate the whole process in a pretty beautiful way, and I'm grateful for it. And also, um, yeah, excited to be able to like really share my story and bring light to some of the horrific treatment that's happening in our prison system.
Okay, wait. Are you saying that you're grateful for this opportunity to speak, or you're grateful for the opportunity that you went through what you
I'm
did?
grateful for the experience. I am.
Okay.
Um,
See, that is so powerful. I know so many people that carry so much hate and anger and resentment, and like it allows it takes over their whole entire life, and they're not able to move forward. So the fact that you're even able to have a positive view of that is amazing. And I just want to point that out.
yeah,
So,
I feel like most people who go through profound spiritual experience tend to have these very intense life experiences, and I feel like how, even though it was a horrific experience and all my rights seem to be violated, and um, I'll be forever marked by the trauma that I endured. Um, yeah, I feel like it's really created a place for myself to be able to help others and sit in whatever trauma they might be dealing with, and not have to not be triggered myself, and be able to hold that kind of safe space. And that's where my passion and life work is.
so if I'm hearing you correctly, you're essentially saying that because of this experience, you feel like you're able to hold more space for other people and the things they're going through because of the severity of what you've been through.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I feel the same way about like what I've been through, but you don't meet a lot of other people who feel that same way, and I feel like a lot of that is mindset too, and just being able to accept it and move forward. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, and I think that's truly beautiful that you're able to then take your pain and what you've been through and then turn it around and be able to help other people. And I know I'm going to butcher this, but I feel like this keeps coming up in my life constantly, is this like poem by Rumi about
Mm.
how the wound is where the light enters you. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel so drawn to that. And I feel like that's so important because I feel like really the most traumatized people who have been through the most fucked up stuff are the best human
Yeah.
beings that I've met, if they're able to like
Do
deal
the
with their
yeah,
own,
do the work.
do
Yeah.
the work, deal with
Yeah.
their demons, not project and push what they're going through onto other people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so thankful that you're here, like not just here in this room, but like to have gone through what you've been through and still be alive.
Yeah.
Like so many people turn to unaliving themselves when they've gone through things like you have, and I just appreciate you for existing, that's all. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I'm glad to be here, and yeah, glad to have made it through. And it's really unfortunate that most people that experience the kind of experience I did, um, unfortunately, aren't able to function
yeah,
for the rest of their lives.
yeah,
And I'm grateful to my spirit and my higher guides that
yeah,
have really opened up a place for me to navigate it and get to a good vibration and be able to, yeah,
I
share my
love
light
that.
on to others.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Let's get to it.
beautiful. I love everything about that, and you're such a light. Okay, and just to be clear, I want to say some sort of trigger warning, right? We're going to be talking a lot about mental health. We're going to be talking a lot about incarceration. We're going to be talking a lot about rights being taken away, trauma, really heavy stuff, right? And so feel free to leave at any time, or now, or not listen, or whatever. I just, please know yourself and know what you can sit with and what you can't. And I hope that you're able to like hold that space for yourself and walk away if this becomes too intense or if you can't handle it for any reason. And that means nothing about you, but I just want to say that before we dive in. And additionally, this was not in Oregon. And so I
Correct.
just want to preface this with, this did not happen in Oregon. I don't know. I don't know if we want to talk about the state or not, but
Well,
I
Boulder,
just,
Colorado.
okay, we're just, it's Colorado. So did you want to just kind of jump in? Did you want me to read? I think it's kind of powerful if you talk about like what was happening going
Yeah,
up to
yeah. I
that.
think
So
so. Yeah, there. The whole situation is a very complicated and long story building up to the arrest. So there's a lot of backstory, and I don't want to go too far into it. But yeah, I think it would be good to start with like a brief little overview of kind of the catalyst that started. Yeah,
okay, perfect.
yeah.
Then let's do
Um,
that.
so yeah, in 2017, I had been living in an apartment uh, for 5 years and on month to month, and out of nowhere in the middle of summer, my landlord calls me and tells me I got 30 days to find a new place, and my entire world kind of collapsed. And it was a series of events. My like that phone call, and then like 2 days later my car broke down, and like it was just, when it rains it pours.
Yeah.
Um and so I started couch surfing and going around, and just really fell into a deep despair and depression, and was panicking about living situation, and ended up moving into a really toxic uh, basement apartment, and with this guy that like fostered, like 20 dogs, and had like a shared kitchen with piss and shit everywhere.
That
And
sounds terrible.
yeah, I was so ashamed. I couldn't even move my furniture in, and sleeping on the floor. And yeah, I just couldn't function at all. I just fell in the deepest, darkest depression I've ever been in. Um, and was close to my breaking point. And I started to pursue some mental health help for the first time. I've always been very resistant to doctors my whole life, and um, and had some really traumatic experiences just with the Colorado system, and trying to, without a record of mental health, and trying to like get help. And um yeah, and so, long story short, I basically stumbled upon self-guided hypnosis, in that deep depression, and reconnected with my mom, who had passed 8 years prior, and I had a lot of trouble not experiencing a connection with her for those 8 years. And she kind of came to me in a hypnosis, and had this beautiful moment of healing, and felt like she guided me to various hypnoses that just helped me like rewire my brain.
Yeah.
And then I had a series of events that got me out of that toxic house, and into a place that was really nurturing, and able to finally feel like I was safe, and I was making a lot of really powerful life changes.
Yeah, didn't someone just like reach out to you and was just like, here's a house?
Yeah, it was an MKP brother of Mankind Project. I've been involved for almost 20 years now, and um, yeah, I had my mentor. I was a leader in training at the time, and I had my mentor basically blast out like, "This is the situation. If anybody has any help to offer this man, he could really use it." And a good brother of mine had just lost his daughter, and she was 35, and had a whole house, and he couldn't bear to deal with all of her possessions. And um, basically offered me to live there and help him get it ready to sell in exchange for rent.
The
And
timing of that is so
it was
crazy.
right on Christmas. It
Yeah.
was like my move out date was like December 23rd or
Yeah.
something like that. And I had no family, no like friends to celebrate with or anything on Christmas, but I just remember being so grateful to just have a roof over my head, and a freezer full of food, and yeah, a warm home, and a great dog, and yeah. And so I was meditating every morning and afternoon, and had quit smoking, and just like really getting serious about my personal growth. And yeah, there was a really powerful experience that, um, just one morning in meditation, um, I started to receive a download. That's like my best explanation that happened. Um, and it was like my entire consciousness expanded 10 times its size, and all of a sudden, like, all these aspects of my life were making sense. And I thought I was having a brain aneurysm. I was super fired up and activated, and had all these new sensitivities, and stumbling upon all these, like, yeah, just like answers to all of the things I was navigating. And
Were you like doing any drugs around that
I
time or
had
any?
I was 100% sober.
Okay.
Drinking alkaline water, really simple diet of just like healthy food, whole
Okay.
foods, and walking every day, meditating,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Okay.
drinking tea. Like that, I was nowhere near any kind of psychedelics or anything like
Okay.
that.
I just had to ask.
Yeah, no, for
Okay.
sure.
Continue.
It's a common question when I
totally.
share my story, for sure.
Because I think when anyone or when most people experience those things, it's under the
Right.
influence of hallucinogens or something like that. So
Yeah, no, this was a full just like Kundalini activation that happened.
okay.
Yeah.
Continue. Apologize.
And yeah, so it wasn't until the download had completed. It lasted for about 3 days, and I was exhausted cooking dinner in the kitchen, and it hit me like, oh my god, it's my mom's birthday. And all of a sudden, it really made sense. Like, my mom came to me in that hypnosis, guided me to rewire my brain to be prepared for the download that happened. And from my understanding, she just like basically downloaded herself into me.
Yeah.
And then there was a series of events that followed from the new year. It was a full moon, New Year's Day like thing, and had a really powerful experience with a crazy quantum machine and gathering, and then yeah, just all these synchronistic encounters that happened throughout um, the following 3 weeks or so were just gaining in intensity.
And this was going into 2018.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, and so at some point there was definitely some kind of mental break within me. I was feeling dark energies, encounters, and not feeling safe at the house anymore, um, and went to get some support from loved ones, and then at some point somebody got really concerned with me and had a wellness check with cops coming to the house, and I spoke to him through the window. I was just like, no, everything's fine. Like I'm nowhere near killing myself. Like I'm fully enjoying life and going with the flow. And but at that point it was like, I'm not safe here. I need to disconnect from my phone and go into nature and deliver messages that I was receiving, basically.
All right.
And yeah, and that's kind of where the journey to my arrest starts. And, I went to Pearl Street Mall and was like wearing my mom's sacred kimono, and just I didn't have a cent to my name, and was totally like just trading things and giving gifts to random people, and delivering all kinds of messages. And like I'd walk up to like a couple like having lunch or something. I'm just like, by the way, like you guys are soulmates. Like I'm just like
have a great day.
And
just living your true hippie life to its full fulfillment.
Yeah, before I even realized I was a hippie.
Yeah. Totally. You're just like, I just have this thing that I gotta tell you. I don't know you. Here you go. Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have my 2-year-old border collie Jack Russell mix puppy.
Yeah.
Best trained dog I've ever had. Yeah. She no collar, no leash, and she was like my spirit guide, and she would lead me to the next person I had a message to. And and so I just went on this like crazy pilgrimage and gave my phone to a homeless guy, and my winter boots and coat, and just like kind of was just letting the universe kind of guide me. And
but you do see, like, looking back, how that's like concerning to people.
Totally. Yeah. No, I was flying off the rails. Like I am not denying
totally
any of like I was just had no support, and had no one to like ground me and get me back to reality. And so I just kind of floated into the ether.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it was really beautiful in my eyes. Like everything I was experiencing was like totally grounded, and it was just like I'm just channeling my mom and like enjoying life and letting the universe flow. And
it's the middle of winter in Colorado. You're giving away your coat. But
and all the like conversations I was having and just encounters and like love that I was shining out was just a really beautiful to like see how it all unfolded.
It was very out of body. It sounds like it very much sounds like, especially like in the dead of winter, if you're just like giving your shit away in Colorado, like you just very much were not in your body at all.
I was really grounded in like unlocking the Phoenix codes, and like I stumbled upon this crazy like I was like I feel like he's some kind of reptilian shapeshifter, some cosmic being. His name's Amareya, and he had this like video that I stumbled upon about unlocking the Phoenix codes.
Okay.
I was determined to like go to Kauai and um,
Make
like
that
go on
happen.
the retreat that
Okay.
the activation that he was hosting, and that was like kind of the mission that I was on. I was like trying
Okay.
to find my tribe and trying to find my guides
Yeah.
to get to Hawaii and
All
go
right.
on this like crazy activation portal of
So you had a plan without having a plan.
yeah
All right. And you're
yeah
just letting the universe take you where it needed to, and you fully believe that like this was all going to come to fruition.
yeah.
All right. And then, okay, so you're on this
So
excursion.
so yeah, it gets to be it was January 23. It was 123 was like significant. I was all
Yeah.
about the 369 of Nikola Tesla and um, yeah, really about sharing these messages and
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I walked for I don't know, it was probably over 20 miles that
Yeah.
day, all around Boulder, and it was nighttime. It was getting super cold, January night, snow on the ground, feet wet. I was still like totally fine because that fire was like lit in me.
No boots, no jacket. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, I stumbled upon CU Boulder, Colorado University campus, and um, yeah, I talked my way in with the janitor to see if I could warm up,
Yeah.
and he let me in, and yeah, and I went on this like whole journey through campus of a unknown. Like I've never been to college,
Yeah.
and I've never like I've been on CU campus a few times, and it's a fascinating campus and amazing various works of art
Yeah.
and everything that's all around it. So I was just exploring and
Yeah.
had all these like really powerful conversations with students, and yeah, I would just go to break rooms and like have tea and have my dog just like laying on the couch and
Yeah.
talk for I had multiple like 2-hour conversations with students that were there late night doing whatever, and there was like crazy experiments happening, like lasers and like big announcements, and
Yeah.
um yeah, I definitely felt like I was in some kind of time warp, and I was like experiencing both future and past at the same time, and
Would you say that you were experiencing like delusions at this point at
yeah,
all?
I would say I
Yeah.
was like fully in my like yeah,
Yeah.
just some other dimension that was not grounded in what I was actually.
Did you ever get like an evaluation? Like, did they ever say that you were like manic or that you went through some sort of,
Yeah, they
yeah.
diagnosed me bipolar 1,
Okay.
and
So,
that yeah, I was in a manic episode.
okay. So the essentially what you were going through was some sort of like psychic or psych break or some sort of like manic episode. And so you're obviously you experienced it all as real, but you're not quite sure what was delusion and what
Right.
was reality. And it was just, I bet that was so confusing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
really felt like I was in a movie. Like
Yeah,
it was
totally.
just like some kind of crazy movie
Yeah,
that I was experiencing,
totally.
um and yeah, and so I, I I would like recharge myself in like a little conference room
Yeah.
and take a little power nap, and I was really into like Leonardo da Vinci's like 20-minute power naps and like no sleep,
Yeah.
um and yeah, and so sunrise started to come around and campus started to get busy, felt the call to get out,
Yeah.
and headed out again, my dog like leading me out.
Yeah.
I remember leaving campus that day and feeling completely invisible, like nobody even like thought it was weird that some weird guy in a kimono with a dog off leash walking around campus
Yeah.
and going down the stairs,
I'm
just
sure
like
they've seen weirder stuff on campus.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
totally.
Boulder. And and yeah, and so my dog, led me to a house. I received a message that was like my long lost brother, and I needed to connect with him. Received a message like the door's open, come on in.
Yeah.
And I just walked in
Yeah.
and went upstairs. Like my dog led me upstairs to his
Yeah.
room specifically. I opened the door. I
Yeah.
woke him up. He was totally cool.
Yeah.
He like woke up like definitely startled, and I tried to explain the situation, and he's like I remember him saying like, "Oh, I've totally had friends like in hard spots. Like you can stay here a couple
Yeah.
days," um, and it was like totally cool. And
Yeah.
we went downstairs and like we hugged and went downstairs and talked for an hour. He cooked me breakfast, bacon and
Yeah.
eggs, and talked for another hour. And then yeah, he goes up and takes a shower. I'm just like blown away by the whole experience, and
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
dirty and nasty. And he comes down, and I'm like, "Would you mind if I take a shower?"
Yeah.
Um, and so I go up and take a shower, and yeah, the next thing I know, four cops with guns drawn bust in the door with me naked in the shower, and um, bring me downstairs with a little towel around my waist,
Yeah.
and question me. And I try to explain
Yeah.
what's happening, and of course it sounds absolutely ridiculous. And um, yeah, and that's when I they take my dog. They call it Dumb Friends League, and has the dog and arrest me. And I remember being like really accepting of like whatever was happening. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, like like
Yeah.
arrest me. I'm fine. I remember getting to jail, and I chanted the whole time in the back of
Yeah.
the squad car, Omi Padme Om, and um, yeah, I remember getting back or like getting to the jail, and yeah, just feeling grounded, and that like this was meant to happen.
Yeah.
Um, and they make me sign away my dog for 72 hours. Like I have 72 hours to reclaim her.
Right.
Um, and then they put me in a cell, and hours go by, and I start asking like, hey, can I get my phone call? Like, can I
Yeah.
call someone? Because my biggest concern was my dog.
Definitely.
And you know so I kept asking, like, and so I would get some out time, and they're like, yeah, the phone's right there. And like I pick it up, and there's like you have to enter in a pin and like figure out like a way to navigate
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, I don't know how to use this thing. Like it was a completely foreign environment for me. I've never been
Yeah.
arrested. I've never been in jail. I don't
Well,
know how things work.
and you're having a manic episode, so
And I'm
just
yeah, and I'm
in
like
general
super
functioning.
activated in
Yeah,
so
totally.
many ways, and just disassociated from reality.
Yeah. And no
Um
one's helping you at any point.
and no one is
Yeah.
like, oh, like you've never been here before, like, oh, you gotta press 1 and 2, and then your number is
So you feel like they were treating you like a criminal. Right.
right.
But you hadn't been in that
But
situation.
like
You're
I just went to
yeah.
my long lost brother's house. He cooked me breakfast,
Yeah.
and never asked me to leave.
I'm
Like,
trying to find that police report so then we can see what was said. Because it looks like I think there is okay. I think this is the police report. So it says on January 24th, 2018, at approximately 9:22 hours, I was dispatched to this apartment in Boulder, in the city and county of Boulder, in the state of Colorado, in reference to a homeless male that was inside his residence and would not leave his apartment. Upon arrival, the officer went into the apartment in question. At this point, the officer stated the homeless male was inside the residence and was last seen on the couch of the living room. At this point, I drew my taser and entered the kitchen and living room area, and there was no person present. But I don't understand what led to them drawing their tasers. So, like, it doesn't seem like anyone was under any threat of like
Yeah, I was definitely
harm.
non-violent, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
At this point, I drew my taser and entered the kitchen and living room area, and there was no person present. As we went upstairs, I heard someone urinating in the restroom. Once the urinating stopped and the shower started, at this point, we made entry into the restroom and announced ourselves, also as accounted ourselves as police. There was one white male, later identified as Sephiran, was the only person in the shower and immediately became agitated and verbally non-compliant. He got out of the shower as directed and wrapped himself in a towel, and I escorted him down to the living room. Were you being
I definitely like
non-compliant and agitated?
I think I was like in shock of
That's
like
fair.
four cops with guns drawn, like
Hey, I'm
police,
naked.
police, you know, like I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, totally.
I was 100% compliant though, like,
Well, and at this point, so the person whose house you were in, they have a written statement that they submitted, and I don't know.
yeah, it's pretty contradictory.
We'll get to that
Yeah,
point and we'll see if it seems like it was like that. Just that seems very aggressive. Unless the person whose residence it was like, oh my gosh, I'm in fear for my life. But we'll get there. But that just seems initially, I don't remember, but initially that just seems very aggressive.
yeah.
um while speaking with Sephiran, he admitted to entering the residence at approximately 6 a.m., as the residence belonged to his brother. Sephiran later stated his dog Evie Spirit guided him to the residence, admitted he did not live there, and that the universe told him to go to this residence. The officer then placed Sephiran into handcuffs and exited the residence. While on scene, Sephiran's dog was picked up by City of Boulder Animal Control. Also, the victim was allowed back into the residence and collected additional belongings that he located in his house that did not belong to him and he believed belonged to Sephiran. While speaking with Sephiran, he stated he attempted to text message 911 via his phone and never received a response. Also, he advised that he texted two friends and his dad before his dad was able to get in touch with the CUPD dispatch. The property collected contents of one pair of tan snow pants, one kimono style black jacket, one credit card with Sephiran's name on it, three tea bags found in the front left pocket of the tan pants, one textbook, and multiple papers that appeared to be ripped from a bulletin board at the CU campus. The clothing and credit card was booked for safekeeping, and the textbook was booked in as evidence. The miscellaneous papers were impounded and held for destruction. Okay, and then let's see what the written statement from the victim said. It said, I'd gone to a late night movie showing and arrived at home at 1 a.m. and stayed awake until 3 a.m. I did not check that my door was locked. I assumed that I admittedly left the door unlocked. Though having been alone for a couple hours, no other person was in the home nor welcome at those early hours. At about 4:45 or 5 a.m., I awoke to a man and his dog peering out my bedroom window. I asked, "What the hell are you doing in my home?" I don't recall his answer, but I stayed calm, searching for a peaceful resolution. I then asked, "Are you homeless?" To which he replies, "Yes." I offered him my hide a bed, having hosted friends in need before. That's what he said. He offered you a bed. When I started to set up the bed, he declined and insisted on talking to me about a Zen religion and how we would be changing the world by existential means. I listened, unsure of what else to do. He wanted to tell me his story and show me his YouTube channel. He spoke for many hours. At sunrise, I offered to make him breakfast at this point. eh, any linguistic tactic to divert him or divert from his plan to travel the world seemed to trigger him, and his language became more assertive slash aggressive. His existential ideas were right, that no one would execute his ideas together. He refused to he referred to me throughout as his other half. After breakfast, his hugs became firmer with deep sighs. He insisted that I hear his religious jacket. Oh, I wear his religious jacket. I insisted that I needed time to think and to get ready for the day. I showered while texting 911, and something neighbors for help screamed. My father called 911 on my behalf. When officers responded, I beckoned from my upstairs bedroom, told the man that I was checking the mail, and met with officers. So, yeah, I mean, unless that conversation with the victim and the officers was that I'm in fear for my life, it doesn't seem, and you had firm hugs, it doesn't seem like anything was super
And
threatening.
at no point did he ask me to leave. Like I know he said he did, but like
Yeah.
I would have been, I was very like open to like, oh, like I am invading your privacy. Like I
Yeah,
am not
totally.
trying to like.
And yeah, and he does say he was trying to tactically essentially mislead you,
Right.
but it doesn't there to my understanding, there was no reason for that.
Yeah, like and
Yeah.
I would have happily left if he would have said
Right.
like, you're kind of freaking me out.
Right. And
Like,
so, and
can you please leave?
here in Lane County, we have a resource called Cahoots,
Hmm.
which is like specifically deals with people who are like dealing with mental health issues. And this seems like a situation where Cahoots would have been perfect, because you're clearly not trying to hurt anyone. You're clearly just going through a mental health crisis,
Yeah.
and you essentially just needed mental health intervention as opposed to being arrested and then put into solitary confinement. So anyway, we will now get to that because okay, anyway, sorry, I get really upset, but anyway, continue.
No,
You're
yeah, it's pretty upsetting.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm arrested, trying to navigate the phone call. Like all my rights are like I'm demanding to speak with a VA or a DA,
Yeah.
and and yeah, just like completely basically being ignored
Yeah.
and treated like I'm insane.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hold on a second. And I remember the first few days being grateful and just like, wow, like I landed in a safe place, like I'm
Yeah.
safe, I'm warm, I have 3 meals a day,
Yeah,
I have
totally.
water, and I'm able to navigate this like spiritual realm that
Right.
I'm exploring,
Yeah.
and I took it all as a really big gift. And but yeah, as like day 3 hit and I realized like my dog is gone,
Yeah.
that's when my like real mental break happened, and I became convinced that they killed my dog, and I became furious, and I kept demanding to speak with a VA and see a judge and get a lawyer because
Yeah.
this is bullshit. And as I got more pissed off
Yeah.
and triggered by how they were treating me, they started to strip more and more away from me.
Yeah.
Um and so yeah, I became completely irate. I was, yeah, destroying my cell. I
Yeah.
was, yeah, just being
But
furious,
you just wanted to
trapped in
know
a
what the fuck
cage.
was going
Yeah,
on.
I had no, they never, like I did not understand what charges I was being charged with. I never spoke with a DA, attorney, any kind of anything. I
Yeah.
never saw a judge, and I never got my phone call.
Yeah.
And those were like all the rights that like I've known since I
Yeah.
was a kid from TV and everything
Yeah.
else, that like that's how this justice system worked. And when
Yeah.
that wasn't happening, I, yeah, became really pissed off.
When they weren't
And
treating you like a human being and giving you the rights that you thought you were allowed, you
yeah,
got upset. Whoa.
and so yeah, they put me in solitary. It was called the I remember the inmates would call it the disco. I think it's dispo or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but it was the disciplinary wing, and yeah, they put me in solitary and started to, like, they took away all my clothes and gave me a smock, which is like a velcro, like kind of
Yeah.
straight jacket kind of thing with no zippers or anything to be able to hurt myself. and and yeah, and then there was just a series of events of guards like kind of messing with me, like
Yeah.
night and day shift were very different energies, and night shift would like strip me of all my things and include like down to naked on a
Yeah.
concrete floor, freezing in a January February
Yeah.
winter. And I remember one night being so concerned I was going to get hypothermia that
Yeah.
I ripped open my mattress and made it a sleeping bag. And um, when they came and checked on me, they like were so pissed off and took my mattress away, and so I wasn't allowed clothes, mattress, blanket, like anything. And yeah, it was really intense. And I remember many times of just like getting to the point where I'm just like squatted in the middle of the floor, holding my legs, bawling, freezing, begging for help. And the only way I could get help was to say I was suicidal.
Yeah.
At which point mental health would come in, talk to me through the little slit on the door, and basically say there's nothing they can do for me in the disciplinary wing. Um, and put me on 3-day suicide watch, which would then uh, like repeat the cycle of stripping me of everything I have. And
But the people in mental health weren't able to tell that you were going through a mental health crisis at the time?
no, they knew full well. Everybody knew I was going, like it was. They were just like, she just her name was Alice. She would, like, I remember we would always, like, I was like, Alice, like through the looking glass,
Yeah.
um and and yeah, and she would be like, I really want to help you, but like unfortunately
Yeah.
where I was put, they have mental health has no control over treatment. And which
Okay.
is crazy because the guards are like sinister.
Yeah.
um yeah.
Jeez. And so then
I
how long were you in solitary?
was in solitary for 6 months,
And did
at
you,
which point I never saw daylight. Like I had a couple cells. They would move me in the disciplinary wing, like it was like musical chairs in
yeah.
cells. And so there was a couple cells that had like unblocked windows, that I had a little window out to the courtyard.
Yeah.
Or it was like white covered, and you can just get a little bit of light from it.
Jesus.
um, but you couldn't see out of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I, there was often times that I would um, like be skipped on shower time. Like my out time would, like, I was supposed to get 1 hour every
Yeah.
day. And yeah, there's days like I remember multiple times where it was like 3 days I never got out time, and I'm
Yeah.
watching all these cell, inmates be able to go out, and I'm like, when's my out time? Oh, you've already been out. And I'm like, dude, I have not been out.
Yeah.
And
So not only are you going through a mental health crisis, but they're also messing with your head.
they were really messing with my head. And
Jeez.
so in my way of navigating it and
Yeah.
handling it all was to like, I went into this alternate reality of like pretending of that this is like, for me, the only way that I could justify what was happening to me
Yeah.
was that I was on a spaceship
Yeah.
in a human captivity experiment. All
Yeah.
these guards are aliens, like, and they are
You
this
were,
is a test
yeah.
of me
You
and
were
my
just,
resilience and
you were
the
pushed
lessons
so
I've
far.
had. And
Oh
yeah,
my
and I
God.
was like really committed to my spiritual path. So like I was meditating on my bed, and I
Yeah.
was doing naked yoga as a tribute to my mom every morning. And um, I explored my cell as a blind person and knew like every like I could like fall from the counter and catch myself on this and like just
Yeah.
be able to like navigate and move. And I turned everything into a drum set and just like
Yeah.
really allowed. And I felt like Nelson Mandela, like if you're gonna kill me, like I'm
Yeah.
here, I will follow whatever orders you like. I remember telling the guards, like, I am 100% compliant. You need to tell me exactly what you want me to do so you don't fucking like hurt me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to resist. I'm not trying to fight you. Like just tell me what you want me to do so you don't hurt me.
So then when you were completely compliant, they didn't take you out of solitary still?
No, like they would literally handcuff me, chain me around. 8 guards would come in, and so like how the prison or how solitary specifically works is it's like a plexiglass
Yeah.
um, room of like 6 cells in its own contained unit. So there's like the main disciplinary unit, and then solitary, which is like plexiglassed over and all contained, and that's your out time
Yeah.
is just in that plexiglass room, and the
Okay.
showers at the end. And so every out time, 8 guards would come through, open the door. I like have and I would be very like, I am OCD, like, please tell me exactly how.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, step forward, okay, put
Yeah.
your arms out, okay. And they would handcuff me, chain
Yeah.
me around the waist, and ankle me naked to
Yeah.
take a fucking shower. um and yeah, it was just so hard for me to wrap my head around
Yeah.
why I was being treated this way. Like, no other inmates were being treated the way I was. I saw 1 or 2 that were there for maybe a week,
And you never
treated
attacked
similarly,
anyone,
but they
or
all left.
and you never attacked anyone or did anything like aggressive
I,
to be.
there might have been some times where I was like
Yeah.
trying to like get away,
Yeah.
or like resist some kind of abuse.
Yeah.
But as far like in my head, I was just this like innocent little child
Yeah.
stuck in this, like, I felt like a gorilla in a
Yeah.
zoo of just like trying not to get tased and trying not to
Yeah.
be put in. Like, they would threaten me, like, do you want to go in the chair? And I'm like are you saying you want to electrocute me? Like,
Yeah.
and it was the restraint chair.
Yeah.
And they put me in the restraint chair a few times. I had like crazy, yeah, past life regressions in that thing of just, yeah, it was just a never ending gauntlet of um yeah,
Torture and
torture
abuse.
and abuse
Yeah.
and trauma.
Mentally,
and
physically. Yeah.
and there was no clock. I had no concept of time when I slept. I had no idea if it was 15 minutes or 15 hours.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I would find like little pieces of graphite from pencils that were broken, and I would write on the walls, and I would share, like, every cell I went in. I would write my mom's daily dedication.
Yeah.
um, and yeah, it was just really, really intense.
Yeah.
Um, and the guards, yeah, really started having fun with me, and
Yeah.
and messing with me in ways that really like seemed to warrant my
Yeah, to like reinforce your delusion.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I remember one time they were moving me and they're like, okay, it's time for you to go to your cryo chamber, and like, and and like,
Yeah.
and just like, why are you doing this to me? And
They're just
yeah,
making it worse, it
and
sounded
they would
like.
turn off my water. I remember guards spraying ammonia under my door. I like, there was just sinister stuff left and
Yeah.
right, and they kept trying to give me medication. I refused all medication,
Yeah. Well, because
all throughout jail.
that's how they deal with mental health in the
Right.
jail. It's just medicating people.
Yeah, the only thing medication I requested was fish oil and melatonin, and
Did you get that?
uh-huh.
Oh, well, that was nice.
Yeah, they would give me my fish oil. Um,
So then how did you get out of that?
so yeah, yeah. So it got to the point where I was pacing my room all day.
Yeah.
I couldn't sleep because I had no mattress or
Yeah.
blankets. Um, my my feet. I went in at about 190 pounds. I had dropped down to 140.
Oh, wow.
Um, my feet were about 3 times their size and bright purple. I remember the nurse would come and like poke my foot through the door and be like, "Oh, just like lay down on the bed with your feet up." And it's like, "Give me a fucking mattress. Are you
Yeah, how are
kidding
you
me?" Like,
supposed to?
yeah, and yeah, it was just really, um, I was in a really bad place,
Yeah. How could you not be?
and so by the grace of God, yeah, I call her one of my guardian angels. My mom's really good friend is a social worker, and um, because of how unique my name is, she was assigned my case, saw the file, and she's
Yeah.
like, "No way, like this has to be him,"
Yeah.
and saw the state I was in, and was able to get me transferred to the Boulder Community Hospital where I was born in,
Yeah.
and and it was like a really beautiful experience of getting transferred back to the hospital I was born in,
Yeah.
and they're super sweet, and finally felt like I was getting care and I could eat like a king, and
Which probably wasn't
yeah.
eating like a king. It was probably eating like a
No, it
normal
was
person,
really
but
good. No, it was really good food.
okay.
Like, yeah, they gave you a menu and I got to order everything,
Okay,
and they gave me
cool.
like, I got like a giant tray
So
of
by
just
normal
food.
standards, it was really good, not just in comparison to the jail food.
No, it was like paradise. Like I was getting like, waffles and just like all kinds of really great stuff,
being
and
treated like a human.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
fuck.
being able to just sip tea all day,
Yeah.
and there's like arts, and
Right, because you weren't allowed tea in jail, I'm sure.
I got tea every now and then,
Okay,
and
cool.
inmates would slip things under my doors a
Yeah.
lot, and that was one really cool
Crazy.
thing about inside, is like it was all like inmates are together,
Yeah.
and the guards are like
Yeah.
the dicks, and
Yes.
so like I remember one time a cellie, or like an inmate who was in the solitary wing, like literally shoved a blanket through, like it was a metal like
Yeah.
hole like
Yeah,
that, and
totally.
like fed it through me. He's like, "You can do it, man!" Like, and we're just
Oh
like,
my
it was
gosh.
like birthing a blanket through a tiny ass little hole,
Yeah, totally.
and
But
yeah,
just
there's
that
just a lot of
community.
like, throwing a
Yeah.
little mandarin orange under, or
Something.
yeah, a little Pop Tart or a ramen,
Yeah.
or something like that,
So the
and
community aspect was kind of cool,
yeah,
but
like all the inmates were like looking after me, and
yeah.
we had some really cool connections, and
That's
um
awesome.
yeah.
Just all of you making the best out of a terrible situation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I'm at the hospital getting some good care, I'm still very much not in reality.
Crazy,
Like
yeah.
I'm I'm paranoid. I have all these
Well,
things going on,
yeah.
and yeah. And yeah, I was there for a week, and then they transferred me to the state hospital in Pueblo,
Yeah.
in the maximum security wing, and it was better than jail,
Yeah.
but still pretty horrific and terrible. At least I finally got, like, because all the time at the Boulder Community
Yeah.
Hospital, I wasn't allowed to go outside either, and like
Okay.
all I wanted to do was get back into the sun, like,
Yeah.
and feel sunshine again,
Get some fresh air. Makes
and it
sense.
was driving me nuts at
Yeah.
like looking through these beautiful windows, and I'm just like, I just want to go outside. Like, can we
Yeah,
please go
totally.
for a walk? Like, you can
Yeah.
cuff me, do me whatever, but
Yeah.
like let me just please go outside. Um and yeah, and then so in Pueblo, like I finally had a courtyard that I could just go out and lay out in the sun,
Yeah.
and yeah, and Pueblo was really rough. Um, they, I was in with schizophrenics and
Yeah.
murderers and rapists, and um, didn't feel like I belonged there. I was also like really, yeah, not in a good place and not
Yeah.
really getting the care that I thought I needed. And um, and yeah, and so I was there for 3 months. I had a few encounters with other inmates that were like, "Yeah, I've been here 30 years
Yeah.
and I have no idea what I did." And like, "Why are you here?"
Jeez.
And I'm like, "Oh, like I went to my brother's house and he made me breakfast,
Yeah,
you
totally.
know?"
You had no idea.
And um yeah, and so there was a point where I could really see, like, if I kept my resistance to medication and diagnosis and care, that they would just keep me there for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And made a decision, like, okay, like, I'll let you gaslight me into whatever
Yeah.
and take whatever medications you give me. And they put me on like 9 antipsychotics,
Yeah.
um, and yeah, turned me into a complete zombie. Um,
As it does?
there, I think I want to say there's like 1,800 inmates and one
Yeah.
psychiatrist for the entire
State hospital?
state hospital,
Crazy.
and so took me a very long time to get my competency test.
Yeah.
Finally got my competency test. I remember seeing the psychiatrist for the first time, and he was like this German, like guy with the horn rimmed glasses,
Yeah.
and he's like, asked me like 4 questions. He's like, okay, like, thank you, have a
Yeah.
good day, and just like,
Yeah.
and that was the extent of my psychiatrist visit. And yeah, I did my competency test, passed my competency test. I got transferred back to county. Um, I saw the DA for the first time,
Yeah.
took one look at my file. He's like, "Why are you still here? I don't understand." Um,
And you didn't see an attorney at
I
any
didn't
point?
see an attorney at any point, and um, he offered me a plea for a misdemeanor, time served with a
Yeah.
misdemeanor and trespassing. I was at the point where, like, as long as it wasn't a felony,
Yeah.
I just wanted to get the fuck out, and
Yeah.
so I took it, and was released. I think 3 days after that,
And your attorney was
and
there when that happened, though.
it was just the DA. It's just the DA. Like, yeah.
What?
Um,
So you never had an attorney or
I
anyone?
never had anyone that was like, hey, like, I'm here to like really dissect what happened here. Yeah,
That's
no.
insane to me.
It was the DA with 25 files sifting through his thing, and he's like, oh, I don't know why you're here. Like, I'm
Well,
just gonna give you misdemeanor and trespassing, and I don't know.
that's fucking crazy. Okay. And so then all of the medications that you were on in the jail, did you just like, or in the state hospital, did you just like quit them after you were released or?
No, so I was so leading up to my release, I was meeting with mental health in the jail,
Yeah.
and they were giving me resources with mental health partners in Boulder, and um, yeah, I was assigned a caseworker, and um, yeah, continued my medication,
Okay.
and I was on Medicaid, and oh, that's another thing that was crazy. At my time in the hospital, I met with like my caseworker or whatever, and they made me sign a document for to bill my Medicaid. I think it was like $700 or $800 a day for my care.
Oh, crazy.
Like absolutely insane
Yeah.
for like yeah, giving me a yeah, putting me in restraint chairs
Yeah.
and yeah, just like
That's
totally.
wild. Well, I mean, I guess that's one way to get it paid because you couldn't, but yeah, that's wild. So then you got a caseworker. So then after you were released,
So I was released. They gave me a taxi ride to a homeless shelter. Um, I remember I was lucky enough to win a lottery at the homeless shelter to get a bed that night.
yeah.
Um, and it's like literally lottery every day
Jeez.
to get a bed.
Yeah.
And I stayed one night there. It was right around my sister's birthday, and she basically, her and my dad offered to buy me a train ticket and come
Yeah.
visit them. I went and visited them. My dad drove me back after a week or so of spending
Yeah.
time with them. I found a homeless shelter that I could get a permanent bed in, and I was there for 3 months, like attempting to
Yeah.
re-enter the workforce and
Yeah.
function. And holidays came around, and it just got so depressing that I ended
Yeah.
up moving in with my dad in South Dakota on the Indian reservation, and started my healing journey, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
So then were you still on the medications at that point?
Yep. I
Okay.
didn't stop taking my meds until, let's say, it's probably May, June of 2019.
Okay.
So I stayed on my medication for quite a
For like a
while.
year after you were kind
It
of.
was at least like 6 to 8 months after I
Yeah.
was released. Yeah.
And so do you feel like the medications helped you out of the delusion though?
No.
What do you feel like helped you out of the delusion?
Um. Well, yeah, I would say probably the medication did
Yeah.
help me get back into reality.
Right.
And but it also turned me into a complete
Right.
zombie and
Totally.
disconnected my spiritual like channeling that I had unlocked,
Right.
and turned me into just this. Yeah, like I gained. I think I from from Pueblo to like moving in with my dad, I think I gained over 50 pounds,
Yeah.
if not 60.
So it was almost like the medication was able to help you come back into your physical body, but it was cutting off that connection that you had between your spirituality or your spirit self and your like your your body was here, but it was not connected to the you,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I was just
Okay.
this like walking avatar,
Yeah,
basically, like
totally.
not able to have any kind of like real human experience.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
definitely.
everything felt really just bland and
But that's so amazing
yeah.
that you didn't like turn to substances at that point.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like I feel like so many people after going through what you went through then just like turn to substances and then that just like it's almost like a domino effect of just like getting infinitely worse. And
right.
so,
And that's the cycle that, the prison system is
yeah,
all about, is
totally.
drug addicts that just it's a perpetual wheel
Yeah.
that just keeps people coming back.
Well, I want to say it's really impressive that you got out of it, but you were never really in it. Like it was it was like a one-time like fluke sort of a thing, and it doesn't even sound like it was warranted. It sounds like you needed mental health support, and which you eventually got, which then eventually helped. But um yeah, and then also, like, maybe if you would have taken those medications in jail, it would have helped, but how are you supposed to trust these people
Right.
to have your best interest in mind when at every single point they've done things to hurt you in some
Right.
way? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember them telling me like, "Oh, here's some lithium, take it." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What the fuck am I, an Energizer bunny? Like I don't want lithium. Like I'm not a battery.
Yeah,
Like
totally.
I
That
just
must have
want to
been
go home. I just
so
want my dog."
confusing. Yeah. So then, um, yeah, if you, I don't know, so then what would you say to someone who is going through a similar experience, or what would you have done differently, or is there anything that you've reflected on like that?
Hmm. Yeah, like the biggest thing I've learned in this healing process
Yeah.
is that life is not meant to be navigated alone, and
Yeah.
and and and
Yeah.
we're that's all we ever are, is alone. But um, there's no shame in really asking for support,
Yeah.
and yeah, not letting things escalate to being out of control. and
Yeah.
and that's the biggest lesson I've taken away, is and it's the biggest beauty of what I've manifested through this experience and found my way here, and into this community and these circles that I've encountered in
Yeah.
my ventures in Oregon, of just real support in these realms of spiritual awakenings,
Yeah.
and yeah, how needed they are, and how much we really need to like reshape how we look at mental health, and
Yeah, totally.
especially spiritual like awakenings. And yeah, I'm currently reading a book that's truly fascinating, called um, Madmen and Saints,
Hmm.
and it's all about just throughout history how um, these beautiful spiritual encounters have been either seen as mad, or
Yeah.
a divine,
Right.
miracle,
Totally.
and some are created as saints, and others are labeled as madmen. but
Well, and it probably has to do with,
but when you go into the core experiences of both, you
yeah.
realize that they're both very much the same
Oh, yeah.
experience. And
I just figure
um,
it probably has to do with the religion that you subscribe to, if you're a saint or if you're a madman.
yeah, that could be.
But
Yeah.
that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother time that we could just take hours on.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it sounds like, and we've kind of talked about this. I went through a somewhat similar experience, nothing like what you went through. And for me, I fully believe that what kept me from getting to that point was the fact that I had my mom around,
Mm,
and she was a voice of reason when I wasn't able to have one. And so I think that really resonated with me, what you just said about like the importance of having community, asking for help, and then making sure to like have people to just care about you.
yeah.
And I also know that a huge part of that story, which you didn't talk about, was when you were struggling, someone just reached out to you and offered you support. And so I think that it takes such a small effort to reach out to people to make sure
Mm,
that they're doing okay, but it can literally mean the whole entire world to the person who's going through that
yeah.
thing. And you don't always know that. And so, yeah, I would just reinforce just that huge sense of community, and just like caring about one another and just like offering care and love and support to
Yeah.
one another. But
Yeah, the really the thing that got me through my experience and was my anchor throughout the entire event was my mom's daily dedication.
yeah,
And yeah, I'd love to share it with everybody. And
yeah,
um but I wrote it on every wall, and it encapsulates life's journey so beautifully. And my mother was also the reason I was able to
yeah,
navigate it, because she was channeling me the whole time,
yeah,
and looking out for me, and always in the cell above me, even on the top floor, and would communicate with knocks and
yeah.
lights and all kinds of cool stuff. And it was great. So yeah, here it is.
Okay.
I humble myself and I surrender before my fate, my mission, and the whole all, acknowledging the insignificant part it is my privilege to play, my role as servant to all and an instrument of the divine, my debt of gratitude for the blessings I receive. I dedicate myself this day to infinite gratitude to all things past, to infinite service to all things present, to infinite responsibility to all things future, the infinite wonder of all things. I here on this day wholly offer myself up upon the altar of life, so that I may be an instrument of love and peace, of courage and joy, of wisdom and compassion, of truth and beauty. That this shall come to pass in whatever ways it shall on this day, I am grateful. I treasure this precious gift of another day of embodiment, and I will strive my utmost to honor it in all ways. Swaha.
Cops thought you're so fucking insane, I bet.
Hmm?
I bet the cops thought you're so crazy.
Yeah?
Yeah, like just that level of openness and surrender.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And like I would wait to eat after everyone was served. Like
yeah,
I would ask, like, has everyone been served? Like, can I eat
yeah,
yet? And and I would always, yeah, do an offering for the ancestors in the Lakota tradition. And
yeah,
um yeah, I was definitely a trip, and a lot of guards really loved me and
yeah,
talked to me a lot and cared for me. And then there's others that were super triggered and
yeah,
wanted to destroy
totally.
me. And yeah,
Crazy.
it was a never ending battle between light and dark.
Yeah,
And
totally.
yeah.
That's wild. Well, is there anything else
Yeah.
that you think that we did not cover? Thank you for your dedication, by the way. I've heard it multiple times, but it is just, it's beautiful every time. It's
It's
just, it's very like surrendering and like almost feels like a breath. Does that make sense?
mhm.
Or is that... I don't know if it'll make sense to whoever's watching, or maybe will. I don't know. I don't know. The world is definitely changing, and I think that it is so powerful that we are making this shift. I feel like, or maybe it's just my algorithms, but I feel like as a whole, as a community, as a consciousness, we're like making this shift towards more love and care and kindness and light, and it feels more so like ever before. But there's also a whole war that's also taking place, so but
For me,
forces.
I feel like there's a big energetic shift happening in our world,
Yeah,
and systems kind of collapsing, and a lot of light is being brought into the darkness that
yeah,
that we've ignored. Um, and yeah, I think that we're going through an enormous change of evolution, and really re-entering the golden age of humanity. And with that comes a lot of um, conflict
yeah, totally.
and challenges and disruptions that
Yeah,
unfortunately look like everything's falling apart. But I really have a strong faith that, yeah, everything is
well,
shifting in
it's
the
clear that
ways that need to be
it's
shifted for
clear
us
these
to.
systems aren't working. It's very clear that they're not
Yeah.
working. And for them to be built up more functionally, unfortunately, they have to come down first.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things where, you know, things look like they're falling apart, but they need to in order to make room for growth and for improvement. So yeah, no, I totally agree. But
yeah, and you know, one thing I would like to say
yeah,
is I plan on starting my own podcast here in the
yeah,
near future. I'm really excited to spend a few episodes with somebody that really wants to dig in deep, maybe with a therapy background or something
yeah,
like that, that can really process some of my experience and really be able to share the whole, like, because like I shared the short,
yeah,
like kind
totally.
of condensed version of the 6 months, but like
Yeah.
the actual 6 month experience was like, I felt like I lived so many lifetimes, and I remember everything,
Are you
and
going to therapy right now, or are you
I
working with a
I have been
therapist?
in therapy. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
because of our system, there's
yeah,
a problem with billing
yeah,
and my Medicaid and all that,
yeah,
and um, I'm looking for a really good therapist that can really get in deep. I'm doing multiple, like I went to a grief and joy workshop last
actually,
week, and
I know someone that I can refer you to.
okay,
But
cool.
yes, we'll check in about that.
But yeah, keep tuned as far as my
Yeah,
podcast, and the vision for my podcast is to just really share my life experience and then
yeah,
interview others and have hear their stories and how they've
totally.
gotten to the places they are, and
Yeah,
um,
definitely.
yeah, share with the world some positive energy and breaking stigma
Yeah,
on
totally.
you know, psychedelics. Like that's one thing I would like to express in this interview, is just, yeah, like the way I've been able to integrate this all so well
Yeah,
was with the therapeutic model here in Oregon, um,
yeah.
of psilocybin therapy,
Oh,
and was able to really, you know, 4 sessions or so,
yeah,
I was able to fully integrate all my experience
yeah,
and shift my
totally.
perspective from that
That's
resentment,
amazing.
anger, and victimhood into this like
Yeah,
really empowered, healing light worker, like
that's
let's change the
incredible.
world kind of
That's
thing. So
crazy.
yeah.
Well, because I know they say that like one session of like 5 hours can be like the equivalency of like 5 years of therapy.
The best way I can been able to describe my experiences
Yeah.
with psilocybin is, yeah, it's condensing 1,000 hours of therapy into a 6 to 8 hour
Trip.
experience.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's insane.
yeah.
Okay. I think that's all. And I think we're gonna cut it here. So
Cool.